The Matrix Awakens tech demo has been out for a couple weeks now, and there's been a lot of talk about its performance and what it all means for the future of the generation. The game looks amazing and is a noticeable step up from the previous generation, but in its current state, it barely runs at 30 FPS. Since the PS5 and Xbox Series X have been out, people have grown accustomed to running all their games at 60 FPS. A lot of people waited a long time for consoles to be able to do this, and now that it's here, some people have formed some really strong opinions. I've heard a lot of the same intense arguments from some pretty big YouTubers and journalists. 30 FPS is awful. It's unbearable. How can anyone play at 30 FPS? 60 FPS should be the new default. I've even heard some people say that games shouldn't ship with the 30 FPS option. This sentiment really has me scratching my head, since we've only really seen 60 FPS on cross-gen games. We've seen some next-gen only titles like Ratchet & Clank and Returnal running at 60 FPS, but neither of those games are pushing the console to its limits, so it seems odd to me that people think that we're going to be seeing the same frame rates throughout the generation. I've heard a lot of people argue that developers should at least give players the choice to just lower the resolution and graphics to get to 60 FPS. The problem with this is that the frame rates aren't always tied to the resolution. Complex physics, a large number of assets, lots of destruction, advanced lighting systems, dense particles, and a further draw distance. These are all things that can lead to a lower frame rate. It's not always a simple on-off toggle. So then people will say, okay, I understand, but just give us a performance mode where all of that is scaled back and simplified so we can still have our 60 FPS. The problem here is that reviewers are going to turn on the performance mode, realize that it looks nothing like the fidelity mode, and mark the game down in their reviews. We almost saw a glimpse of this when people realized that Guardians of the Galaxy was running at just 1080p in performance mode. This method would also greatly increase the amount of testing developers would have to do to accommodate the performance mode. Some people are so attached to 60 FPS that they're hoping that developers scale back their ambitions so that the consoles can continue to run the new games at that frame rate. They're hoping that the existence of the Xbox Series S and lower powered PCs keep the developers in check. This is not acceptable to me personally. If I hear a developer say that they wanted to make a game more technologically advanced but didn't so that they could accommodate a performance mode, that would make me disappointed. I personally think that 60 FPS is not a reasonable standard. We really only started hearing about 60 FPS during the end of the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation, when it was so easy to build a PC that could achieve a consistent 60 FPS. But that generation went on longer than it should have due to the recession. In reality, people have been playing at 30 FPS for decades. Ocarina of Time ran at around 25 FPS, and that game still captivated the world with its scale and ambition. At some point, a developer is going to release a game that pushes the boundaries of what we believe is possible in console gaming, and it will only run at 30 FPS. A vocal minority will complain and skip the game, but for the rest of the community, the technological advancements will be well worth the sacrifice. This has been Isometric, and thank you for listening.